so that the content can be more sticky, so that the content can continue after you finish watching a show, so you could have conversations after, so you can grow this content to something else by someone else. It didn't have to be the same people. That's what's so great about understanding and making use of what's around them now.
We'll talk about that. We're going to go for another break right now. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to the 12th Merdeka Award Roundtable. We're talking about creative industries, and let's talk about funding. This is a very important part of developing an economy, right? So I think we can agree that from the government's perspective, a lot of support has been thrown into supporting entrepreneurs and also as well policy making. But let's talk about private sector, right? Because let's look at arts. It's difficult to gauge the investment. I mean, relatively intangible benefits compared to a traditional investment. So how difficult has it been for players here?
Well, it's been super duper difficult for the arts, definitely, because we are talking about not being in the school, not being in the education system properly. So we're not first of mind, we're not creating new audiences, we're not creating people who are a part of the production system, simply because people don't have an avenue to be exposed to the arts to begin with. And it's really such a pity. So for me, all I'm asking for is, it's not funding for the artists, it's more getting the arts back into school, back into education as a main priority. But again, when we say the arts in education system, we're also talking about building creativity, building innovation. We're also talking, we're not saying we want the arts as a subject we sit for exams. That's not the point. The point is, where is the presence of arts, of creativity and innovation in schools?
Yes. You need it. Without it, you're not going to have people that can be innovative. You can't have technology development. You won't have people that think out of the box. If you want everyone to be the same, don't teach art.
We need more engineers who are artists, more doctors who are really compelling when it comes to creativity. We need all those people. And for me, funding, when we talk about the idea or the issue of funding, it will never be enough in whatever country. Somebody is always going to say, oh, it's not enough, oh, it's not for me, or I don't see it. But for me, funding is just one side or one little thing to enable things to happen. Opportunities are like the others. How much framework do we have in place that allow for other companies to come in very easily to the country and to share, collaborate with us? How much freedom do we have, and how much encouragement, for example, opportunity do we have for Malaysian creative people to go out and form collaborations and talk about it and be successful and come back, vice versa. So those frameworks are actually for me more important than just funding you for one project or funding you for this particular work.
What about private sector? I mean,
but private sector, you know, they are for profit. So understanding that the arts is not charity is very important.
Yeah.
So we don't want to go and knock at doors and talk to CSR departments of private companies. That's not the point. The point really is for them to realize, to understand the sustainability of what they're doing, and community sustainability or community engagement with the arts is the basic form. Look, we are here surrounded by artwork.
My question is, how do you not see arts and business as completely separate elements, mission for a company, you know, instead of just being a add-on or something to what you're doing at corporate CSR, but instead of it being a business decision?
I think you also need someone to do a lot of advocacy in the private sector, and I don't think there are enough people in this country doing advocacy to the private sector like that. People are seeing when they have CSR, you see, oh, I have an education pillar. And when you have an education pillar and you have like environment pillar, and you're very specific on your pillars, and then when you come to them and you want to talk about, hey, let's look at sustainability and engagement with the community using the arts as a tool, they're like, oh, but it doesn't fit into environment, doesn't fit really into education. I don't have community, so it doesn't really jive or fit in. But again, this is, I'm sure, with more people involved in advocacy and in talking about how to use the arts, it's going to change. it's also going to change inside the company as company understand that efficiency is not about driving away creativity, it's not about driving away innovation, but it's about looking at creativity and innovation and saying that, hey, we need a big part of that inside here, and how do we get that going?
Dato, do you see that happening from the policy making side of things?
If you look at some of the countries, well, the more developed countries, they have tax break for the arts, for companies that have contributed or sponsored the arts. Like Yuen mentioned just now, perhaps there should be more champion for the art. People who would take it up not only in the papers but also at the government level, whereby, you know, especially for tax break, if a company can put aside a sum of money or contribute towards the art fund. At the moment there is. If you put into the arts fund, then you get a tax break. But the tax fund is one whole lump sum that you are not sure where it goes to. So maybe what the government can consider is to have a special scheme whereby one company, if it falls between, if it falls within that segment of the art, for example, making up a sculpture, for example, or buying paintings, or helping out in the performing art, that could be set off as a tax break. Now that I think would really help to promote the or to incentivize.
I mean, understand
just
companies.
incentivity, you know, but there's just so much more that can be done. But again, I think what I really do want to also kind of bring back here is that we're now just kind of talking about, oh, the issues of artists not being able to survive, but that's not true. That's totally not true. We will really, we can make money should we choose to. It's not a case where, oh, you shouldn't be asking your children to not become artists. It's not also the reason why I'm saying that art should be in school. That's not the point. Art should be in school because it makes you a better person, and it also makes you a lot more creative. And the creative industry is really about that. It's not really about turning you to be an artist. That's also not the point. So an artist takes a good 5-10 years to become, you know, to become wholesome, to become finished, to be a finished product, so that other people can know who they are. I mean, even a whole group, a whole company of Upin Ipin takes 10 years to be where they are today. So what more a singular artist? It does take time. So in year 1, year 2, year 3, if you see an artist struggling, it's not like, oh, don't be an artist, you will never make money. That's not the point. You just got to keep going. It's just like how you first enter the banking job.
That's the question whether you can keep going.
But you can,
Yeah,
absolutely. If you want to.
If you want to, you'll do it. And the thing is like this, like I think in the end of this point, it's that what Hasnul's saying here about going around and basically going to all these different organizations, and I'll say I've never seen one place that has so much funding for art. I mean, Malaysia has so much funding for art. I mean, it's incredible. One of the only places in the world that I've ever experienced this in. At the same time, with that said, if you think about the amount of time, for you, it's part of the job. For me, I won't even do that. I'll just go make money. But just basically go sell my product, get my stuff made. And this is the thing, there's 2 routes you can go, and if you can do both at the same time, fantastic. But in the end, if you want to succeed, you will succeed. And I think that's the one thing that art teaches. You have to keep going, you have to keep practicing, you have to get better.
Which is what the creative industry is about. Because when people are taught creatively, they look at themselves as entrepreneurs. It's everything becomes uncertain, everything becomes an opportunity to be better, to grow better. That's what it is. It's not about certainty, it's not about making sure that you have a paycheck. We're not
that's
in,
the truth.
We're not in a world where that's true. We are going to be, I don't know, we're not in some doomsday.
Well, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee.
Anything.
And that's the best part about the creative industry. Because there's no guarantee, there's no certainty, it's whatever you can do with the 2 hands in front of you. And if you happen to have a group, with whatever the group's number of hands are. And I think this is the part where if we can take that and then couple it with some, you know, intelligent business understanding, they're unstoppable.
Yes, I agree.
But empowerment comes from number 1. I mean, it's like, anyone who risks putting themselves out there, like, let's be clear, art is very personal. So you put yourself out there, you basically say, this is me, look at me, world. And the world's like, well, that kind of sucks, or yay, applause, you know what I mean? But in the end of the day, you're empowered to do this. And this is the thing, you have the courage to make it happen.
Just to add to that, I think even from the government's point of view, because I've been with this part of the industry for quite a long time, we've actually helped fund projects and UPNP and any monster. I think even the government has become more savvy in terms of how they want to fund content and how they want to fund the arts. I think before it's like we're not too sure how to do it, but now it's like when we started out, it's like we fund full productions and we don't know if the content can actually sell or not. Now we say, okay, why don't we just start by seeing them develop the content first, their ideas and stuff like that. So it's a smaller investment from the government, so that later on, if it happens, then they go knock doors. They go to the broadcasters, they go to the funders. Then they say, oh, I'll put in half, and then the government comes in to half. So even then, it's a journey even for the government itself. For them to understand, how do we assist and actually give the extra fuel for them to actually boost themselves. We're all under one ministry right now, FINAS, MDeC, MCMC, under the Ministry of Communications and Multimedia. And what we've decided is that we've centralized all our funding. So you won't be able to come to MDeC to look for funding anymore for content. We've all put it all together under the pitching center, and this is administered by FINAS, which all of us are part of. So we're part of the evaluation committee, we're part of the approval committees. And this is a way so that you don't have to go crazy and go to all the different agencies and figure out what you want to do. You just go to one central place.
Making it more seamless for
the content entrepreneurs. So it makes it easier, hopefully.
Well, easier for me, it's the vision of what we like to see. We are really serious about building a creative industry. Okay, what is the end game that you like to see come out of this creative industry? Build that, be
jobs,
very, very clear.
Jobs,
but
revenue.
That's great. Those are great KPIs to have. But what is the vision? Whether are we going to be able to say we want to build, a creative industry that look like we are going to take over Asia, for example.
Well, we are.
So are we going to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we have that vision, be very clear.
We're marching
Hold that
through it.
thought. We'll come to that. We'll have to go for our last commercial break. We'll be back shortly with Ngai answering that question. Welcome back to the 12th Merdeka Award Roundtable. We're talking about creative industries, and I'd like to take a look at the role of creative industry in nation building. Arts have the power to communicate various issues, nation building issues, but is it happening at a pace that you like to see here? Let's start with Yuen.
Well, it's happening, but maybe not at the pace I like it to be. I think arts is a really, really important tool. If used meaningfully, it can really take away things like social issues. It can really target and deal with social issue gaps, the gaps between the different segmentations of people, getting people to be united. Well, one of the other things aside from sports that has got this power that's really magnanimous, that when we come out, it's like, we don't talk about what your background is, we talk about what the vision is, and that's what it is.
Well, looking at the market, right? Some argue that Malaysia is in a way divided in terms of culture and language. You look at market access in domestic market, 30 million different languages. Would you say that is one of an impediment towards selling your product for content?
I think it's actually a benefit having different languages and multicultural. Yes, the market might be small, but it's also still a market that's also now ready to pay. Before, the disposable income was very low for our consumers, and now it's getting a lot better. So we see that in the early days, even for consumption of games, for example, we see a lot of pirated content, or even pirated DVDs. Now it's really easy where somebody will just pay 10 ringgit a month for iFlix, where they can have plethora of films and whatever it is. You see parents coming to retail game shops to actually buy the PS4s and games, original games for the kids to play. This is changing, and this will also mean what's going to be very important for our content creators and also the society to understand that piracy will kill our creative industries, and we've got to make sure that we have that sort of awareness that we're supporting our local content developers by buying sort of original content, so they consume so they can help the other creators to actually keep on creating content. So I think this will change, and it's already changing.
The games industry is global. We're lucky that we have developing markets. Malaysia and Southeast Asia are the fastest growing actual markets for the next 5 years. They will be #1. So that's basically causing a lot of development, not just in creativity, but also in technology, in design. We're effectively getting ready to work and compete at such a level that our own original products will go out to the rest of the world. So that's a fun thing. It's great.
And technology is definitely changing the game of the business, right? I mean, with
the technology
various
there.
platforms that are available and is constant online. And are we taking advantage of that? I mean, are we ahead of the curve in terms of looking at Malaysia?
You know what, I will say one thing, that I have seen technology developed in Malaysia that competes on a world-class level. I have seen it, I've been a part of it. I think one of the things that's going to surprise a lot of people is that through the actual creation of creative works, whether that's in film, advertising, whether that's in television production, you have to make tools. And what better than the people who have to use the tools to make tools that they want to use to make their products better. And that is happening. So software development, engineering, technology, game engines, project management tools, these things matter. I mean, effectively like this is that we've seen for our own business, we ended up developing a product called Streamline out of here, from Malaysia, here in Kuala Lumpur, because of the fact that we had to work on an international level. So this is the thing that it's happening already. This is not theory, it is happening.
So as a country, for example, I'm imagining how the country, at the country level, can maximize itself from the creative industry, from the tourism dollars, for example, tourism ringgit in this. If we clearly understand the inventory that the country actually has, the power that we actually we do have from all the kinds of stuff, because of the different segmentation, because of the different language, because of the melting pot that we are, I